Okay, welcome to Tutorials with Mr. Arsenault. Today we're going to be looking at basic keyframing. So firstly, when you open up Flash Professional, we're going to load ActionScript 3.0. Go ahead and double click that. Okay, I'll just blow this up. Alright, so on our stage, we first need to draw something. In our timeline down here, we have one frame that's a blank keyframe. In order to fill it with something, I have to draw something. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to draw something like a character. There we go. Notice how my keyframe turned black. Well, now I have a single frame. In 1 second of animation, you have 24 frames. So if I go here to 24, I will have a full second. Now, because it'll take a long time to actually animate 24 different frames, the human eye can get the gist of animation just with a few frames per second. So if I go to say frame 4 or frame 5 even, that's roughly every 5 frames, I can insert a keyframe by right-clicking, going to insert keyframe, and there I go, I have another one. So now I have 5 frames of this exact same thing. The keyframe on frame 5 basically extended my former keyframe. So if I decide to change this keyframe, say I take my selection tool, select it, and move my character over to the right just a little bit, now I'll have 4 frames at position 1, and then 1 frame at position 2. And there you go. Alright, so if I go to frame 10, I can insert a keyframe. The shortcut for this is to press F6 on your F keys, top row. Now because he's already selected, I can just move him along. Then I can go to 15, F6, another keyframe, and move him along. F6, oh, that made one here. See, I forgot to change over my keyframe. But that's okay, just extended it by 1. And now I'm going to extend it 3 more. F6, move it here, and 25, F6, move it along. So now when I take my playhead, this red bar right here, and I click and I drag back, it looks like he's moving. And that is frame by frame animation. Okay, because when I export it and I press Command Return, you will see 1 second of animation and it'll just continually loop. Okay. So at frame 25, I'm going to have this character draw a bubble. So I'm going to choose some pink chewing gum. And because I've already copied 4 frames of frame 20, I'll use my paintbrush and I'll draw some bubble gum. I'll go 3-4 frames over, insert a keyframe, F6, go back to my paintbrush, make my chewing gum a little bit larger. I'll fill it. 3-4 frames over, keyframe, paintbrush, make it larger. Fill it. Oh, I made a keyframe there. I meant to go over and keyframe there. If you have your keyframes proportional, meaning every same amount of frames you move, it'll look very smooth. But if you go 3 frames one time and then 6 frames the next, or 5 frames and then 4 frames and back to 3 frames, it'll look a little weird. So I like to try to keep things consistently. And let's say last one. K to fill, that's my shortcut. Alright, and next frame over, I'm going to say that this balloon or this bubble gum will pop. So I'm going to press V to deselect. I'm going to select my bubblegum, press delete, and now I'm stuck with a hole in his head. Well, I can fix that manually, but while I still have my pink on, I'm going to draw little bursts of bubblegum. I will have this one come out right there. Maybe have some on his face, sure. Okay, K to fill. And now to find my blue again, I'm going to take my eyedropper tool, make sure I click on some actual blue, Command plus to zoom in. There we go, click on the actual blue. Now that I have blue in my color selector, I can go back to my paintbrush and I can fill it back in, Command minus, so I have the same size of stroke. And you know what, I think I will put some pink on his mouth right here. There we go. Okay, so now if I play it back, he's walking and then the bubblegum inflates. Okay, if I go over one more and I just go F6, what I can now do is increase the size of any of these. So with this guy, well, he probably won't increase in size. I'll just select him and I'll move him down, make it actually look like it is exploding outwards. So I'm just going to move them further along, and this guy will probably press the free transform, make him a little bit larger, and rotate a little bit. Okay, now because I only have one frame of this guy exploding, or the real explosion outwards, I'll just extend it, but when I extend it this time, I'm not going to do anything to it. Okay? So he's walking along and inflate. Then if I really wanted to, I could add some more bits like, I don't know, maybe some exclamation points around his head. What happened? Extend that a little bit. When we play it back, there we go. All right. So that is the basis of animation. Now, anytime we're doing an animation, you always want to have each distinct moving part on its own layer. Now, you guys remember when I had to fix up the head? If I put the man on a single layer and then the bubblegum on another layer, I wouldn't have had to make that correction. So in the future, when you go into your tweens, and there's a tutorial on tweening, make sure that each tween is on its own layer. That way you can have multiple things moving at the same time. Just make sure that as you move forward, you animate both objects. And if you end up having an empty frame, you can always right-click, remove the frame. And by doing that, you are essentially bringing the next frame back one. To move it over, you click it a single time, hover over it until you have the black box, and then you can click a second time and drag it over and you space it out. Okay, if I want to move this guy at the end, I would click it once. Okay, wait till my cursor has a little black box around it, and I'd click and drag it to the end. Now everything else is still in the same position, except for that one frame. So now the bubble's bigger, bigger, bigger. Then at the end, we have the one frame. So I'm going to press Command Z, or the shortcut for Edit Undo. Oh, spinning wheel, it's thinking. And that's basically our tutorial. I think Flash is not going to agree with us right now. But thank you for watching, and hopefully you understood the basics of animation and you're able to advance your skills bit by bit. See you next time.